Hello Sim Gamers, welcome to some bonus content for Let's Play Kerbal Space Program for Science. As I was taking a look at mission control for the next episode recording, or more accurately the R&D center, it occurred to me that for this mission we're going to want to get to rovers. And that requires some wheels, but I'm just a little bit of science shy, so we're going to try something slightly different today and make a make an airplane. So we're going to get into the vehicle assembly building and turn our workstation over to airplane mode. And we're just going to make ourselves a pretty basic, straightforward jet engine. We'll go through and make sure we have everything that we need. So we've got a cockpit. We're going to need a fuel tank to carry some methane with us. We can probably go ahead and attach that now. Actually, in between this and that, I'm going to want a science station of some kind. We're going to get a jet engine attached here at some point. Nothing really needed for structures. An empty body segment to make our plane longer would be cool. Most likely live on the end of that. Let me just take a look here. What this is going to look like. So if we do this with a little bit longer for the science station, that could be all right. I don't know, it looks just a tad long for my tastes. So the other thing we can actually do for structure is to add a fuel segment and just empty out all the fuel. Okay, we're not doing any coupling, we don't need to worry about that. Then we get into our aerodynamics. And we're going to need several control surfaces. We're going to need a pair of wings with which to fly. We're going to need our empennage. The empennage is French for basically the tail section of the plane, where the airplane, where a lot of the control surfaces are. And we'll tweak and tune these to be appropriate for this size of airplane in just a little bit. Payloads. I want a little payload section right in here. Yeah, we can go ahead and attach it to that for now. We need an air intake, otherwise we won't have any air for the engine. We are going to need some wheels. Something. Wrong button. Something, also wrong button. Something like this. We obviously don't want those wheels to interfere with the control surfaces, so I'll tune that when we get to that point. Don't need any thermal stuff. Don't need electrical stuff to speak of. Communications would be good. Throw a single antenna on the back. And of course, our science that we're trying to bring along. And anything else? Any other utility? Yeah, actually, I always like the additional safety that's available to airplanes that have ballistic recovery. So I'll add a ballistic recovery system to this one as well. And then I think it's just a matter of sort of tuning and assembling this to what we want. I'm going to go ahead and begin rotating and translating and turning off our keys here, just to get these things set where it makes sense for them to be, based on the fact that this is going to be connected We can go ahead and open the cargo bay and see that everything's nice and snug in there. Plenty of clearance and room and stuff. I'm going to go ahead and open that cargo bay. I want to make sure we have enough room for our wings to clear the cargo bay section. So... and one thing I actually want to do is center my center of mass and center of lift. So I want this craft to be aerodynamically stable, even if there are control surface problems. So we're going to find where are the best places to put these wings. Basically right there. If this is lined up, well, this isn't aerodynamically stable yet. If we bring these kind of back so that the center of lift is slightly behind center of mass, then this airplane will tend to behave like a dart more than anything else. In fact, if I really wanted to, I could just have this be a delta wing sort of jet. But I think it'd be interesting for us to not do that. Let's go ahead and get this wing shape tweaked and then see what its characteristics look like. So the wingspan maybe a little bit longer. No, you know what? Wingspan 20 is just fine. This will be a little high performance jet. Our wing root, we can bring that down a little, maybe a little more to 15. Get our wing angle so that the trailing edge of this wing is more or less straight. Just for aesthetic reasons more than anything. Temp length is fine, temp thickness and everything is fine. This will have control surfaces on, but it's not going to span nearly that much. I'm going to push the position of the control surfaces out more towards the edge of the wing. That gives me plenty of room in here to work with to make sure our landing gear is set up the way I want it. Okay. Now, we can add on the empennage and all that. But before we do, let's go ahead and just sort of bring this whole thing down. 1, 2, 3 notches. Yeah. And then I'm going to pay attention to the center of lift and get it recentered. Oops. By changing the rotation of this wing. So you can see just a little bit of wing angle really changes how this thing, the characteristics of this works. For a nice stable flight platform. We'll get these landing gear mounted so that they are behind the center of gravity enough to allow the plane to do what it needs to do. And I'm actually going to rotate this one all the way around. Like so. And then park it up one. And maybe back a little. These landing gears still seem pretty far back. In fact, my whole center of lift setup seems pretty far back. I'm going to bring it forward a bit. More like that. And that means the landing gear could probably come back a little bit, maybe. Now we just need to change the angle so they line up where we want them. And we're on to putting on our empennage control surfaces. Oops. So these do not need to be nearly this big. The root length can be much smaller. Tip length and angle, wingspan can come down. That should work pretty well, except for the thing that's the part where it's placed in the wrong spot. And it seems like it's rotated funny. Anyone notice that? Yeah, somehow this got rotated off. So let's just grab it again from the construction control surface. Wingspan, wing angle, root length, tip length, wing angle. There we go. And now we just place on the vertical stabilizer. In fact, what we can do is just copy this one with the Alt key to have the same proportions. Okay, now we need to do some, we need to do some advanced stuff. To sort of tune things up a little bit. This needs to come down a smidge to just that should work. What else am I doing here? Oh yeah. I want to rotate this. Go ahead and close our bay. Okay, what other customizations do I need to make here to make this thing really what I want? Oh yes. So I'm going to go into advanced controls and change the various control surfaces. The only control that this wing should have is the roll, which is basically rotating left and right across along its long axis. The advanced controls along here is going to be pitch only. And advanced controls for here is going to be yaw only. Other things I need to customize are the landing gear. I want to make sure that this doesn't actually have any braking power. Braking power on this landing gear would just be disastrous. It'll more likely cause that landing gear to collapse or the plane to flip over more than anything. And these gear are not going to steer, but they are going to brake. I'm going to name this my Piper Cherokee. Piper. We've got science and everything. Let's make sure our staging is correct. So I don't want my ballistic parachutes to deploy unless I deploy them. So we're going to fire up our main engine. And that should do it. Let's go ahead and launch this thing and see how it handles. All right, we're here. Its center of mass looks fine, and I can tell that because it's not bouncing around too much. It's stable. We got full throttle. Let's go ahead and kick on the jet engine. This is a short field takeoff technique where you spool off the engine as much as possible and then release the brakes. And we are airborne. This thing's a little sports car. Now that we are in the air, let's go ahead and begin getting some science gathered. Namely, we have new atmospheric research things we can do. Resume atmospheric survey. Okay. We are now running an atmospheric survey. We'll see what that actually gets us. We're at 6,000 meters altitude, which translates to about 18,000 feet. What a fun ship to fly. So the real key, like I said, is to make sure your center of mass is ahead of your center of lift. That makes your airplane aerodynamically stable. It will try to maintain a good trajectory even without power and without control input. Experiment in progress. Hey, we're able to fly a fair distance out over this water. Ooh, there's an island over there. No time like the present to go check it out. So you can see how aerodynamically stable this thing is. It keeps trying to right itself when it's under extreme amounts of control input. Hey, we got the experiment finished. What have we won? We've won 28 science and atmospheric samples. So those are samples that we took before in other craft, specifically the satellite, but we sent that off into space. So there's no getting those samples back. What do we got out here? An island runway? We should be able to land on here, right? Looks like right pattern is the way to go. I'm gonna go ahead and bring down my airspeed. We're downwind. Extend my landing gear. This little jet seems to have plenty of power. I'll go ahead and do a base leg turn. This would be so much easier if I could use my controller. Flying this pattern, I do it all the time in real life. Of course, this pattern's rather extended. And I can't see the runway from here. Okay, how we doing? Oh, I can see the runway now, or at least enough of it to know that I'm off center. An actual flight test of this aircraft would do us really good to determine its basic characteristics like its stall speed, things like that. All right, we're in a position to just sort of let her settle down on the runway here. I'm gonna hold it off as long as I can and let it just sort of stall down onto the flat. There she goes. Easy peasy. Hit the brakes. Not too hard. All right. Now, normally, we can recover this vessel and do just fine, but that's boring. We have a steering wheel we can use to steer with. Let's go ahead and just sort of come around and take off again. Oh, we got some more information landed in the mountains. That's cool. Get ourselves lined up on center line. Kick up the throttle and fly back home. So it takes off around 60 knots or 60 meters per second. Pull a nice 9 or 8G maneuver here. I love it. This little jet really is kind of fun to fly. Trying to get trimmed in and dialed in for a level flight here. There we go, that's good enough. Just a lovely little flight out to the island airport and back in our Piper Cherokee. Piper Cherokee. We are getting lined up on one of these runways. Oh, hang on. No new jet build has been sufficiently tested unless we make at least an attempt at the bridge underpass flight. I'm truthfully not familiar enough with this map. There it is. Much like landing on a runway, the best thing to get that is to just line up with it from pretty far away. Oops. Clicking around, I clicked on the wrong, ended up clicking off the window. All right, I'm just getting myself lined up here for this bridge underpass setup. This is looking really good. I think from here we can just use the rudder for slight control. Nice and low, nice and fast. Here we go. Oh! That was kind of ugly. We got this comment from Furkan Turhan. Hello, can you please make more videos? Watching you is definitely fun and educational. You bet. How about this one? More to come soon, so get subbed and notified for new Kerbal Kerbal Jet program too. Hey, we did it. All right, 703 science. Now we can get into the actual episode to spend it all and do a rover. Until then, I'm Sim Gamer, and this has been Kerbal Space Program 2.